Hey everyone, welcome back to today's Love Transformation class. And I'm really excited to be joined by the beautiful Rosie Rees today. Rosie has a beautiful message for all women, and I know that you're absolutely going to love what we're speaking about today. She's the founder of Nude Yoga, and I feel like she's actually a bit of a revolutionary in terms of leading the way, and has a really strong stand for women to feel really great about the body that we're in. And there's so much more juicy stuff we're going to be talking about as well. But welcome, Rosie.
Thank you so much for having me. Such an honour to be here again.
Let's dive off in our conversation by starting out with this nude yoga that you've been delivering all around Australia, and it's extremely popular. What got you into teaching nude yoga?
Well, it's been about 4 years now, so I feel like I've been doing it forever. What initially inspired me to teach this was, I guess, simply doing it myself, and having such an epic transformation in my own body, but also my mind and the way I was thinking about my body. So when I first started, I would look at my body and kind of, criticize it and pick it apart, the things that I didn't like. And the more I was naked, the more I started to, I guess it's accept those parts that I couldn't find in myself to accept. And I just had this powerful epiphany one day. It was literally an epiphany. I was like, I need to teach this for women in a really sacred space. And it needs to be 3 hours long, and it needs to be in a circle. So, we're not all bums and faces. And I just knew exactly what it needed to be like. And I guess as soon as I started holding the workshops, they've just thrived. And I think women can feel my passion for it. And I guess the power behind it. I'm just so in awe of the transformations I see in the women in such a short period of time. In 3 hours, they come as one form, and they literally leave just, I guess the feeling is they feel at peace in their body. They feel relaxed, because when they turn up, they're just terrified. And it's crazy, because being naked's our most natural state, yet coming to a nude yoga class for some women is just their biggest fear. And so it breaks through all those barriers. And when you're sitting there in this beautiful space and you look around at women of different ages, women of different sizes, colours, mums, boobs this size, it's just like you think, wow, I've criticised my body so much because it doesn't look like those skinny girls on Instagram. But actually, here's what real women look like. And I'm not abnormal. Yes, I have imperfections, but that doesn't define me. So I'm just going to keep on doing it because it's just so powerful.
And the feedback here has been absolutely phenomenal, because we have so much social conditioning around how we should look. I think everyone has, body issues or body hang-ups. We're talking about relationships in this event, and I'm really curious to know what has been the experience of women who've taken this nude yoga journey and what impact that's had perhaps on their relationships, whether they're single or in a relationship.
Oh, I love this question. So for some women, they come, they open, they shed, they leave lighter, and they go home to their partner confident in their body, and they have sex with the lights on, and they're more vocal and more orgasmic, because my yoga classes aren't your general downward facing dog, cobra. You're wearing like hands and knees, making feline noises, and we're getting right into our primal essence. And so it's not a sexual workshop per se, but it's highly sensual. And I've got beautiful smells and candles and music. And so all their senses are awakened, and then they go home to their lover, their partner, their husband that they've been with for however long, and they just unleash. And we've had 3 couples message us or message me, and I used to teach couples nude yoga as well, saying that they've conceived on the night of nude yoga. And that skin on skin contact, that vulnerability, it's real. And so often we just kind of come together and roll over in the bed and go, oh, let's just have some friction. But babies aren't made that way. They can be, but yeah, to actually make love and connect and see each other, and these women saying they're crying and they're opening, but more than anything, they're okay to have the lights on because they're more confident in their body. And I think we all underestimate the power of loving your vessel and how that impacts your relationship, because some women will come to nude yoga, completely fall in love with themselves, and they'll keep coming back every month because I hold them consistently, and they'll actually end a relationship because it wasn't serving them, because they started to love themselves so much that the vibration wasn't matching anymore, and their self-love tank was just filled up and up and up. And their partner, the reflection with their partner just it wasn't in alignment anymore. And then they kind of, leave that and are open to someone on that vibration.
And so aside from nude yoga, what do you think you've learned that's part of the journey for us women, particularly us single women, to start to become more comfortable in our skin, and how that can actually enhance and improve our ability to form a beautiful new connection?
Well, I think, we're not focusing enough on self-worth. I feel like we're kind of really focusing on the self-esteem and confidence, and these are very important, but we actually need to go deeper into the level of self-worth, which is, valuing ourselves, because it's from that place of self-worth that we build our self-esteem, and we build what I call authentic confidence. So you can have that confidence that's kind of, this bravado, and you come across as, really got your shit together kind of thing. But actual authentic confidence comes from this home of really just valuing who you are as a person, knowing you are a good person, knowing you are deserving. So many women don't actually feel deserving of an incredible relationship. And so it's really going back, forget what you look like on the surface, and go within and actually look at what are your limiting beliefs, what are you saying to yourself, and how can you shift that. And it's not about going, if you have this, I guess, like a record saying I'm fat, or I'm not smart enough, or whatever it is. It's not just saying I'm skinny and I'm smart. It's actually, being able to go, I'm open to learning how I can feel more this. I'm curious to learning how I can feel better about myself, rather than just lying to yourself and saying some affirmation, rather than saying I'm skinny, or I'm thin or fit. It's like, how can I nourish my body? How can I value myself and feel so deserving that I can put high vibration food and water and exercise and love myself so much that I want to be the best version of myself.
Beautiful. And I think you're definitely a beautiful guiding light for your community of ladies in terms of walking the talk, in terms of self-worth and embracing body positivity. You mentioned a couple of things there, so honouring ourselves with good nutrition and good self-care practices. What things have you found with yourself and your community of ladies that have helped them move from this idea of, I know I should honour myself and believe in myself and believe in my self-worth, but actually really being able to embody that?
Well, it's really being able to, what I call, sit in the fire. So often we're wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. And sometimes to get to that place of pleasure, we actually need to sit in the fire, sit in the pain. And a lot of my journey a few years ago, when I was really starting this, was expressing and releasing and allowing myself to feel the unworthiness, feeling the insecurity, feeling the shame, feeling whatever it was, the smallness or whatever you're feeling, and acknowledging that. And it's amazing. It's like when you start to feel that, it dissipates. And then I could come into more pleasure. And that's when I sort of created Yoni Pleasure Palace, but I had to go through a lot of pain first, because everything's always in balance, you know? So if something bad happens in your life, it's like, actually, you know, it's in balance. There's lots of pleasure coming as well.
And what were some of the changes that you noticed when you went through this change yourself in terms of your relationships and your love life? How did that make your ability to connect and feel confident in your relationships? How did that change?
I had so much more, because, you know, when we numb ourselves off to one thing, we numb ourselves off to everything. So we can't just say, oh, I don't want to feel that. What happens is, you know, if I don't want to feel sadness or pain or anger, we cut off joy and elation and all this other juicy stuff. So I found when I started to feel more pain and the anger and releasing it, I started to feel so much more passion and pleasure. And so my sex life, you know, when I started using the Yoni Eggs and pleasure wands and started to, you know, feel the full spectrum of emotion, my sex life just was completely transformed. I had deeper orgasms. I was able to express through my sound. And, you know, there's this, I guess, this science that talks about the vagus nerve connecting from the back of the skull all the way down the spine, going through our throat, our voice box, down to our cervix. And so I started exploring how much making more sound was intensifying my cervical orgasms. And, you know, I'd even cry during sex and during orgasm, and it felt like I was having orgasms from my eyeballs. It's like one thing opened and then the rest just sort of started to open, particularly sexually. Yeah.
And for those ladies who aren't familiar with the practice of using Yoni Eggs, can you tell us a little bit about how that works and some of the benefits?
Yeah, I've got one right here. So a Yoni egg is literally just a crystal stone, or it's shaped like an egg, and you wear them inside your vagina and you do your Kegel practices or your pelvic floor exercises. So this is a rose quartz one. Most common is the nephrite jade, clear quartz, black obsidian. There's lots of different crystals that you can use, but on a physical level, the Yoni eggs all do the same thing, which is strengthens your pelvic floor, heightens lubrication. So even if I wear my egg and I take it out, I'm juicy. I'm usually wet and lubricated, and I'm not even, you know, technically turned on. So it just gets the blood flow flooded to the pelvis. It increases sensation and sensitivity. For me, it helped me have internal orgasms. Before using an egg, I didn't even know they existed. I heard about squirting and G-spot orgasms, but I was like, I'm happy with my clitoral genital sneeze. It's powerful and it feels good. Now I can, 4 or 5 years later, I can have multiple orgasms internally. And I don't think I would be able to do that had I not started the Yoni egg practice. So that's on a physical level. On a more of an energetic level, the energy of the crystals, I can really feel the difference when I wear a black obsidian egg. And I had a woman message me today saying she was crying her eyes out. She was having a real emotional day. And so she went and put her obsidian egg in, and she said almost instantly she felt grounded, she felt protected. And she said, it might just be placebo, but it worked. She said the magic is real. So, and they also absorb whatever intention you give them. So just like anything in life, if I want to, put a positive intention into my water, it will hold that vibration. So I don't want to say they're these magical eggs. They are magical with the intention that you give them. So, and they work physically and energetically, which I just love.
And for the single ladies that are joining us for this virtual retreat, what specifically are the benefits for someone for their own sacred sexual practice that might help them as far as their dating and relationship success?
Great question. I feel as though I don't want to make a huge generalization, but so many women are walking around disconnected from the belly button down, not embodied in their entire sexual being. And when I say sexual, I don't just mean your genitals, I mean your entire body and your breasts as well. So I feel like for the single ladies, the egg is a connection. I find actually when I'm single, I wear the egg more, because I want to feel more connected to myself. And there is something that happens when you do wear the egg, whether it's, you know, sitting on your yoga mat at home or whether it's walking around doing work. You feel more in yourself, you feel more connected. And I think it's really important for single women to have that relationship with themselves, because, oh boy, I have gone into relationships when I haven't had a strong sense of self, and I attracted the most narcissistic, abusive man for a year, and it was like a whirlwind, and I came out of that going, who am I? And it's so important. So even I guess as a sexual practice, yes, it helps you have amazing, you know, masturbation practice with yourself and create, it's a sacred sexuality practice. But on a broader spectrum, it helps you just, come home to yourself and create that relationship. And, you know, when you do that, everything is reflected. So the person that's going to come in will be more of that, again, that vibrational alignment.
Such a beautiful self-honouring practice. And I think that as single women, we either, you know, engage in casual sex to sort of satisfy some of those needs, but we don't necessarily really focus on our own sacred sexual practice. Are there any other ways in which you think, as single women, not being fully connected into our sexuality can impact potentially our ability to create a new relationship?
Well, I think that if you don't know who you are and you don't know what you like and what ticks your boxes, what makes you, you know, turned on, how on earth is anyone else meant to know? And, you know, unfortunately, from our upbringing, from our parents, religion, you name it, we are not taught to touch ourselves. We are not taught how to pleasure ourselves. I had my first orgasm at 17. I didn't even know what it was. No one told me anything. No one. And I remember the first time I touched my clit when I was 12, and I didn't even know what this part of my body was. And it was so oversensitive. I just left it for another 5 years. I never touched it after that for, you know, and again, until I was 17. So it's like, I feel like there's this like rising up of women going, oh my God, I have this incredible, you know, pleasure-filled body. Let's figure out, get really curious on how you want to feel love and pleasure. You know, it's like no one gave us an instruction manual to our pleasure, to our body, to our sex. And so it's like, I feel like using the egg, using the pleasure wands is just a really nice tool to use to figure out what you like. And then when someone comes along, you know, you can say, I like it like this, I don't like it like that. And I think actually that's a huge thing for women, and was a huge thing for me. I couldn't say, oh, you're doing it wrong. I just found like my voice during sex or during foreplay, I lost my voice completely. But the more I started using my toys and, you know, connecting with myself and having a partner who was like, I want you to tell me how this feels, it helped me open up and go, actually, I really like this, but I've always been a bit embarrassed about sharing that. So yeah, you're going to attract in more of what you want when you give yourself what you desire.
Definitely. And I love that. And thank you so much, Rosie, that you're offering all of our viewers a discount code if they're interested in purchasing their own Yoni egg as well.
Yay, my absolute pleasure. Every woman should have one. And you know what? Every girl that hits puberty should be receiving an egg and a menstrual cup. I just wish it was more commonplace, and I think it will be.
Definitely. Okay, so I actually had a curious question for you, because recently your experience has been in a relationship with a woman, and I am curious to know what you've learned about yourself being in a relationship with a woman.
Mm, my God. I've learnt that falling in love with a woman, first of all, I didn't even think it was possible. I'd always found women attractive, and I'd been, I guess, bisexual, but I never really had that many sexual experiences with women. And, you know, I found them attractive, but I certainly didn't think I could be in a relationship with one or fall in love with a woman. I just was always into men. And then when she came along, I was definitely shocked about the way my heart felt just instantly for her. And, you know, I feel like the longer the time that we've spent together, by falling in love with her and seeing the absolute divinity in her, not just her as a person, but also her body, it's made me fall in love more with mine. And even she said this to me yesterday. She said, you know what, I didn't like my pale skin. I didn't like my small boobs. I didn't love my frizzy hair. And then you came along and you've just loved every part of me unconditionally. And she's like, I feel like there's this magical rewiring happening where I'm starting to love what I really, really couldn't love. You know, she was going off and getting spray tans and doing this, and it's like, I just love your milky white skin because I'm tanned, you know, and it's amazing. You just start to love, you both start to love each other and yourselves more when you're with a woman. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, beautiful. And I wanted to share that because I know that we do have not just heterosexual girls watching here, and the fact that we can be a little bit sort of sexually fluid as well. What else have you learned about yourself being in this new relationship experience?
I've learned that love is not gender specific. I've learned that you definitely don't need a penis. I never thought I could go without penis, but I feel more fulfilled in this sexual relationship than I've ever felt in my life. And I feel like being with a woman, it's like there's actually no end point during the sex. It's like you can just keep on going. It's like waves. Whereas I felt with a man, it used to be very, you know, growing to a peak, and then it would just, okay, let's fall asleep. And unless it was like a tantric lover or something, but with a woman, it's this ebb and flow and this real reverence and worship. I've had, you know, a lot of women message me just saying, you've given me, because I post a lot about it. Well, I've started to post more about it on my Instagram, and a lot of women messaging me going, wow, you know, you've really given me permission to allow myself to be with a woman. And in fact, I actually started a private Facebook group called Girl Meet Girl, because I found so many, I was just inundated. She's like, how did you ask? Because I asked her out. I met my girlfriend 3 years ago on the dance floor. She's a jungle body instructor, and jungle body is like dance fitness all over the world. And as soon as I saw her on the dance floor, I was just blown away. I don't know, there was something in her energy. Anyway, three years passed. She got married. She had a baby. I was with, you know, 2 different men. And then I messaged her in the middle of the year, and I just said, this is how I feel. Are you in? And I just said, are you into women? And she was like, well, that's so weird. Actually, I am. And I've had a crush on you for 3 years. And I didn't even know, we didn't even really know. We just followed each other on Instagram. And then, you know, the rest is history. Obviously, we both ended our relationship with partners, and but that was actually quite, you know, we were just new. So I think a lot of it is having the confidence, the worthiness to go, I'm actually going to approach this person, because you know what, even if that girl, that woman isn't into women, she'll still find it a massive compliment and be so flattered that you've said, hey, you're really beautiful. You know, can I take you out? Or I'm really into you. Like, it's just putting yourself out there and having that courage.
Yeah, and I think one of the beautiful takeaways from that, Rosie, regardless of your sexual orientation, is I think sometimes we have this fear of just letting the other person know that we're interested, and that's different from chasing someone. It's not about chasing someone, but I think sometimes, and even men these days have felt more subject to rejection and things like that. I think as women, what we can do is embrace that confidence enough to let someone know that we're interested.
Totally. I had a male friend of mine once. He said, I'm doing this exercise for a month. And I said, what was that? And he said, I'm actively going out and getting rejected. I'm asking 5 different girls out for coffee a day. Like, he was really, wanting to put himself out there and remove the fear of rejection. And so every day he would sort of either be on some dating app or he'd be at a coffee shop, and not to get sex. He just wanted to be okay with the idea of getting rejected, because you know what, we've all been rejected. And there's, if you don't put yourself out there, what if you just missed an incredible opportunity? I mean, she could have messaged me back going, I don't even know who you are, and no, I'm not into women, or I'm happily married. She essentially she was happy, but she didn't realize that she'd actually never owned her wanting to be with a woman. So, yeah, it's like, just put yourself out there. There's nothing to lose. And now, we have an incredible relationship with her ex-husband and a baby, and it's a really beautiful family dynamic.
I love that. And you've definitely been an inspiration to a lot of women who have followed your journey. And I really have a lot of admiration for the fact that you've been so open on social media about your journey as well, and sharing, because I do think that there's a lot of women that can relate to that. And there's a lot of people that tend to not feel okay to share what's going on for them in their relationships.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah. So I put myself out there every day. I'm extremely vulnerable, and I just keep getting confirmation from the beautiful people that follow me saying, thank you, you've given me permission. So it's the least I could do.
Yeah, beautiful. I just had one question here about womb trauma. So we're just sort of segueing a little bit into, I know that there's some women that do feel like on some level their sexuality or their ability to be able to feel fully expressed is somehow held back. And I know that you've had a little bit of experience. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, definitely. So, over I guess not just this lifetime, but even past lives, even our lineage, our family lineage, we store emotions, we store trauma, we store pain in ourselves. But also as women, we store it in our womb. We have this little hub, this almost like a space in our body that men do not have. And so, what happens when there's an empty space and it's not getting, I guess, filled with love, sometimes it's being filled with, negativity, which can create cancer, dis-ease, pain, numbness, you name it. So, and I find, a lot of women who are disconnected from the belly button down, or even the collarbones down, they do get issues with their breasts and their uterus. So I feel like the more energy and love you can give these two centers, the more attention. Find out, what did you feel a little ache in your ovary just then, or is your left breast, a little bit tender here? Being really super in, I guess, connection with these parts is so important, because and especially if in this lifetime you've had abuse, or something's happened to you, or you've had a surgery, or multiple surgeries, getting endometriosis is very common now, getting cysts removed, whatever it is, abortions, all of that can be stored in that space. And unless we actually, have a ritual or clear it using the energy of crystals, using energy even of your hands. Sometimes I just put my hands over my womb and what's going on here? Or like if I get thrush or BV or a UTI, it's all a sign that something is going on down there and it needs to be addressed. And so I have a beautiful womb healing meditation. It's 19 minutes and it helps you release all of that, energetically release those imprints that might be kind of stuck in the womb might be. And it's incredibly powerful to to release that. You can actually feel a difference. I've had a few women message me saying, wow, I just burst into tears when I was doing that meditation. I didn't even realize I was holding stuff there, because again, we're not taught to put our hands over our womb and connect to that sacred portal in our body. So it's like we're all retraining ourselves, re-educating ourselves to do that.
And I love that you're actually sharing that beautiful womb healing with the ladies. Can you tell us how they can get access to that? There'll be a link directly below the video that they can click through, and then you have a coupon code, right?
Yes. So I'll create a coupon code immediately after this podcast, and it will be free meditation, and that'll be worth $12. So once you put that in, you'll get a completely free meditation. And I really recommend doing that meditation every night for 7 days, and just see, something might pop up every day. It might be different. It might be, and I didn't even mention this, but you know, the sexual imprint of an ex-lover. That's something else that we can tend to hold in that sacred space. So every lover, or maybe not every lover, but you know, really the teachers that were your lovers, the ones that you got a lot of, you know, pain. I can think of, you know, 4 right now that I really had to clear out of my womb because of that negative imprint, where, you know, it was unconsensual sex, or I was very, very drunk, and that didn't feel good. But I did it anyway because I was scared, because I didn't know where I was, and I couldn't get out of the house, or whatever it is. So it's like, whoa, you got to be ready though that memories might pop in, but holding yourself through that process is really important.
And I think sometimes we forget that when we engage intimately with someone, there is an energy exchange, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, and it's been, namely in this past 2 years, this is my sacred temple. It took me a little while to learn my lessons, because I'd realize, like, after having someone inside me, I would get, you know, bacterial vaginosis, or I'd get thrush or something, because my yoni is so sensitive. She gives me a signal straight away. If she's not happy, or she didn't like that energy that was coming inside of her, she'll tell me. So listen to your yoni. She'll tell you straight away if she wasn't happy with that energy exchange, because it's not just a physical exchange. It's your sexual energy is the most powerful energy in your body. It's the power to create life. It's the power to procreate. So it's that survival instinct that we all have inside of us. And that power, just think of that power coming together is huge energetically. So it's like, and I always used to think, actually, whoever I was sleeping with, and I've had a lot of casual sex in my time, I would, you know, this is when I was actually stopping that way of living. I would go, would I want that man to be the father of my child? You know, would I want to, even to take it even a bit further, would I want to be him? Because you're taking on that energy, you know, would I want to, you know, have him in my body, in my temple, his DNA? Do I admire him as a person? So they're really, I mean, they're pretty out there things to think, but it does help you cull.
I think that's a really lovely consideration as well, because sometimes we can feel a lot of chemistry with someone, but they might be, a much lower vibrating person, and that can have, you know, some impacts on us. Yeah.
And I wanted to mention there, if you want to have wild sex with the bad boy, of course you wouldn't want to have his babies, and of course you probably don't want to be him. That's fine. Give yourself fucking permission to go and let your hair down, and just almost like do it shame free. If you're going to do it, enjoy it. You know, be safe, obviously, but don't beat yourself up. If you go into it consciously, awesome. If you know he's a bit of a bad boy, but you're going to have wild sex and an incredible orgasm, go for it. But it's when we do it really unconsciously, and then when what was happening with me was I was getting hurt. Oh, they didn't want to be in a relationship with me, or they didn't love me. Why? I couldn't understand, you know, why if I had sex with someone, they're meant to want to be with me. I was doing it quite unconsciously and not loving myself.
Yeah, I think that definitely comes back to what we talked about earlier in terms of coming from a place of having a higher sense of self-worth too when we're making those kinds of choices.
Absolutely.
I would love to talk about this forever and ever, but we have to wrap up. Is there anything more that you'd like to share with our beautiful ladies, Rosie?
I feel my word this year is ritual, and in front of me on my beautiful cozy, I've got this beautiful mat. When you walk on, it's just soft and squishy. I have, this beautiful ritual that I do every morning, and it's, pulling angel cards. It's rubbing some beautiful essential oils into my hands and smelling it and allowing the fragrance to wake me up. It's putting my Yoni egg in before my yoga practice and just putting on a beautiful 20-minute, session. It's like, commit to yourself, even if it's just a half an hour before you get out and open your phone and start, going through everything. Just commit to yourself. When you commit to yourself, and even if it's a 5-minute ritual that you do, that's going to start reflecting, and you'll meet someone who will be committed to you, and they'll respect you. When we respect ourselves, people will start to respect you more. And I think that's what I'd love to leave women with, is create a ritual just for you. And it's not even a ritual that you do a video and post it on Instagram to show everyone that you did yoga this morning. It's like, just do it for you and for your heart and for your body and your mind, and that'll just put you in such a good stead for the day, and you'll walk outside and maybe meet the man of your dreams or the woman of your dreams. So that's what I'd love to leave you with.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Rosie, and I'm sure that our viewers have got so much out of this beautiful conversation. Everything that we've spoken about will be linked up below the video, and if you have any questions, of course, pop over to the Facebook group and we can chat about it over there. Thanks, and we'll see you again tomorrow for the Love Transformation class.
Thanks, Peter.